Hello! Today we're going to talk about the difference between volitional and habitual experience. Very simply put, volitional experience is what happens when you are paying attention. Habitual experience is what happens when you are not. Most of us go through most of our life just sort of cruising along on autopilot, not really paying attention to what's happening. Some preconceived notion, some conditioned thought idea takes the wheel and we cruise through life. We can know that that's true really straightforwardly because if it wasn't the case that you spend most of your life just sort of automatically doing whatever you've been programmed to do, you'd already be the person you want to be. Right? If you were actually making a choice moment by moment by moment as to exactly what experience you're going to have, you would be that person that you know you can be, the one who does all of the things that take care of you. That would already be here. But that's just not how we work. The human organism is not set up to consciously But that's just not how we work. We have a lifetime of training not to attend to exactly what's going on in the present moment and make conscious, informed decisions about what takes care of us. We have an entire sort of legacy of mimetic craft attached to our experience that takes a lot of energy to support, and so the only way to really make that sustainable is to check out and let whatever meme happens to be popping up take the wheel from time to time, and life unfolds, and we discover that the unconscious mind can do an incredible amount of stuff if nobody's bothering to get in its way. And sometimes that stuff works out for us and sometimes it doesn't. It's a very, conditional experience in that way. But there is an alternative mode of experience where we actually engage with the present moment, moment by moment by moment by moment, constantly training ourselves to be passing our entire experience through the question, what takes care of me right now? And if we do that, then we make informed choices about what it is how we're going to frame our experience and what sort of behaviors we're going to have in the world, all that sort of stuff. And that's our volitional experience. And we can expand the proportion of our life that is truly volitional, that is intentional, that is what we desire rather than what we have been conditioned to. And the delight of all of that is, as I said before, the unconscious mind is really powerful. If you can actually sit down and pay attention and choose the behaviors, the beliefs, the frames that take care of you, eventually that becomes unconscious too. And when you slip up and don't pay attention, it's fine, because the right thing for you is going to manifest itself as your habitual experience. You'll be in the habit of taking care of yourself first. But that's tricky because our habitual experience just arises as sort of, this rolling average of our previous experiences in similar contexts. We have this deep and powerful pattern recognition system unconsciously evaluating all of our sensory information coming in at all times and saying, like, what's going on here? What situations in our life is this similar to from the past? And just loading up all sorts of stuff. And unless we intervene, it's just kind of, what did we get trained to do before? What happened the last 10 times we were in this sort of context? So being mindful of what is it that I want my life to be, and how can I take a slice of life, some domain, and really be present for it for long enough that my unconscious habitual experience then manifests my intention for this domain. That's the program. That's what it's all about. That's what we're practicing. Just training ourselves to, take this little corner of my life. Now I'm going to really pay attention here. I'm going to really be on it right here. I'm going to do this again and again and again and again until I have driven deep down into my subconscious the information about what actually takes care of me in this sort of context, so that even if I'm tired, distracted, or busy, not really paying attention to my interior state because I'm out there engaging in the world, I still make the choices about my interior state habitually that take care of me. My first run-in with that was as a young person, when I very first got a PC, gaming PC. I would break it probably once every 2 weeks or so, tinkering with something, trying to make some new thing work, or trying to add in some piece of hardware that I managed to scrounge from somewhere. I was just constantly rendering it useless and then having to work my way back to some usable state. And I would get very angry and frustrated about this. And it occurred to me one day, some friends came over and they're like, "Hey Brian, what you doing?" And I just like snapped at them immediately because I had been working on this problem for like 8 hours. And I was like, going into this experience of frustration, that's not helping me. It's not getting the computer fixed faster. It's not making me happier. Why do I do that? What can I do in the place of this? And so that was the first time in my life that I sat down and really said, okay, I'm going to substitute something different in here. I'm just going to take responsibility for this. So when I'm working on my computer and I'm having an experience of having an outcome in mind and that outcome not manifesting in the timetable that I initially intended it to, I'm just going to say, you know what? I've run into a really good problem here. I'm going to learn so much from this. And really made sure to be cognizant of that, to really pay attention to that. Until such a time as that was the unconscious narrative that started running as soon as I ran into difficulties with computers, so that I could then be fully focused on a problem and also fully within a frame that took care of me, that said, hey, like, this is a positive experience, this is something you want to be doing, this is what needs to happen in order for you to get from where you are to where you want to be, which is, skilled in the art and science of computer repair. So let's get that frame driven deep, 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 deep down, so that I no longer have to be present to make a choice. In that instance, I will unconsciously just begin unfolding the sorts of narratives that take care of me there. In that case, because I was just a beginner and I was like 15 at the time, it took a while. It took a good 6 months probably of breaking my computer on and off to get there. As you practice, that process gets easier and faster, like everything. You get good at the process of pushing new programming down into your subconscious mind. But that's the sort of thing you want to be on the lookout for, is, okay, the domain is, right, challenging computer moments. The experience is frustration and anger. Okay, the desired experience is stimulation, excitement. What's the plan? Try to execute the plan. Fail to execute the plan. Fail to execute the plan again. Make some notes on how the plan went awry. Make a new plan. And just iterate and cycle through, but always being present and making a choice. And over time, you'll get more and more and more instances of success and actually have, creating the volitional experience that you want. And eventually that becomes your habitual experience. And many years later, when I lived in a monastic community, my job was to make everybody's computers go, because monks and computers, they're not a natural fit, right? And I had one of the monks asked me to help him because we had intermittent internet access, and so he had this use pattern around like downloading all of his emails and then reading through the emails and then responding and then going to a place on the property that had good internet and connecting, and then it would send off all of his emails and whatnot. And it just wasn't working for him because he wanted to use a configuration of software that really didn't support that sort of pattern. And I think I was sitting there one day, started in the morning, and about 10 hours later, I was still plugging away at this, just having a good old time. And he would come in and check on me periodically, and he remarked to me just, wow, how are you so relaxed about this obnoxious problem. And it occurred to me like, oh wow, you're right, I am relaxed. Still having a good time. I made it. All right. Because I was so deep in trying to make these incompatible pieces of software play nice with each other that I hadn't even really thought about what is my experience around this, because it was all right. It was nice. And that's what's possible when we take the time to be mindful of what's possible with our volitional experience and make that long-term alteration of our habitual experience. It's a wonderful skill, and it'll take you really far on the road to being a happy human being.